Okay, so lesson number 5 is called using slope. We talked a lot about slope. We talked about horizontal and vertical lines. We talked about slope being rise over run. And now you're saying, but why? Why? Okay. Well, the reason why is we want to use these slopes to solve problems and to understand what's going on. So first, before we talk about the lesson, we're gonna just review cross multiplying. Now we used it a bit when we were doing converting, but it should only be used when we have a fraction equaling a fraction with one unknown variable. So, thinking about that, take a look at these and identify which ones this would work for. So it's fraction equals a fraction, only one unknown variable. Take a moment. You can pause and then come back. Okay, so the first one, 6 over 2 is equal to z over 4. That one will work. Second one, 12 equals 4d. It is not a fraction equaling a fraction, so that one we cannot use. 1 over 2 equals 3 over c. Fraction equals a fraction, only one variable. That one will work. 5x plus 1 equals 3. Not a fraction equals a fraction. Cannot do it. Here, I have 1 over x equals 3 over c. They're both fraction equals a fraction, but I have two variables, so that will not work. S over 2 equals 4 over 8. It's fraction equaling a fraction. Only one variable. I can do that one. R over 9 equals 1 over 3. It's a fraction equaling a fraction. Only one variable, so I can do that one. S over 2 times 4 over 8. That's not even an equation, right? So that one will not work. So there was only 4 examples there where cross multiplying will work. So how does cross multiplying work? Well, basically we're cross multiplying. So we cross multiply and divide. So you multiply across and then you divide by the remaining number. So to solve for z, it's going to equal 4 times 6 divided by 2. So if I do that math, 4 times 6, better turn my calculator on, equals 24 divided by 2, which is equal to 12. Okay, so I multiply across, divide by the remaining number. So here, solving for s, I'm going to multiply across and divide by the remaining number. Okay, so that means s is going to be 2 times 4 divided by 8. 2 times 4 is 8, so 8 over 8. So s equals 1. Okay, one more for practice. We multiply across and divide by the remaining number. So c will equal 2 times 3 divided by 1. So c will equal 6. And you can check those. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. 3 divided by 6 is 0.5. So you can substitute back in and check those. Okay. Now, since slope equals rise over run, which is a fraction, we can use cross multiplying and dividing to find out the rise if we know the run, or the run if we know the rise. To solve for either rise or run, we set it up as a fraction equals a fraction and cross multiplying. So, remember, all real numbers can be written as a fraction. So, for example, 0.5, we can write that as 5 over 10. It's also equal to 1/2. So we can rewrite that as a fraction. If we have a whole number, 3, it would be like 3 over 1. If we have a decimal, what we do is we go 7937 and we put it over 1,000, depending on how many decimal places. If there was only one decimal place, we put over 10. If there was 2 decimal places, we put over 100. So the number of decimal places tells us what multiplier of 10, we put it over. Okay, so how does this work? You're saying, great, we've got these cross multiplying. Why did we learn that? Well, let's look at an example. The slope of a mountain is 5 over 2. Right? And this is going to equal the rise over the run. If you're standing 14,500 meters away from the center of the mountain, what is the height? So we want to know this height. Well, this is our run. Oops. Sorry, my writing gets a little squinchy. So this is our run, and the height equals our rise. So we know that our slope is the rise over run, so it's 5 over 2, and that is equal to the height over 14,500 meters. Now we can cross multiply and divide. So our height is going to equal 14500 times 5 divided by 2. So let's multiply that. 14500 times 5. So I get 72500 over 2. So I divide that by 2. And I get 36250. And I know it's going to be in meters because it's going to be in the same units that my run was. Okay? So that would be an example of how we can use slope to solve problems. Example number 2. If a roof has a slope, I hear all these noises, but it's in my house. I think it's hailing outside. If a roof has a slope of 0.3, so slope equals 0.3, and a run, which is our rise over run, and our run equals 10, we want to find the rise. So we're going to call that x. Now, we have to rewrite this slope in a fraction form, so I can write it as 3 over 10. And check that. Go 3 divided by 10 on your calculator. And you'll get it. And it'll be rise over run. We've said here our rise is x, and our run is 10. Now, and it also says draw a diagram. So we have a roof of a house. So the run is 10, and I want to know the rise, x, and I know my slope is 0.3. Okay, so I'm going to cross multiply and divide. So that means that x is equal to 10 times 3 divided by 10. So it'll be 30 over 10, which is equal to 0.3. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, it should be 3 though, isn't it? 30. My goodness, Mrs. Finley. This should be equal to 3. I don't know. My brain was looking at something else. I'm distracted because I'm working in my dining room right now and it's hailing outside and I have 2 windows and it's quite interesting. So sorry, it would be 30 divided by 10, which equals 3. So our rise is equal to 3. Okay, example 3. A ladder leans against the wall and has a slope of 3. So let's take a look at this. It says draw a diagram. So if I have my wall here, okay, and I have my ladder leaning against the wall, okay, it's my ladder. The foot of the ladder is 4 feet away from the wall, and I want to know how far up the ladder reaches. So I'm looking for the rise. Okay, so, and I have a slope of 3. So slope, which equals my rise over run, equals 3. I know that my run equals 4 feet, and my rise, I'm going to call x. So, rise is x over 4 feet is equal to 3, and I can write that as 3 over 1, right? That's how I can convert it to a fraction. So then I'm going to cross multiply and divide, and when I do that, I'll get x is equal to 3 times 4 divided by 1. Well, that's 12 over 1, which is equal to 12. And it's going to be in feet because I have to have them in the same units. Okay, so that is some examples of how we can use this idea of slope to figure out some of missing information when we know a slope and we're looking for a run or a rise. So you're going to do some practice questions on the next page, page 20. And I think there might also be another